Yeah, Jadeite is a much better manager. He's more laissez-faire, like hands off. Like, oh, I like your idea. Go execute.
I don't like Nephrite.
No.
He's a micromanager, and he doesn't seem to think highly of women.
No, whereas I feel like Jadeite respected women. He just liked to also use them for things.
Well, he was a little unnerved by women, and I appreciate that in a man.
You know. Welcome to Sailor Moon Therapy Hour.
I'm Alison.
And I'm Audrey.
And we are not therapists. We just watch anime. And the specific anime we're watching is Sailor Moon, the original dub and the newer, or more accurate perhaps, sub every week so that we can relive the traumas and joys of our childhood and reassess ourselves as adults.
Yes, and also, learn what actually was happening during the show that we left.
That too, because sometimes it's not what we thought.
Yeah, Big Deke did that on purpose.
I mean, yes. So, how are you this week, Audrey?
Oh yeah, we said we were gonna do catch up.
We don't have to.
No, I want to, because I think we're both very tired today.
You can hear it in our voice. This is gonna be the exhaustion therapy hour.
Yes,
where we discuss how tired we are.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about this week, because wasn't the full moon last week too? So it's not even. I can't even blame it on a full moon.
I mean, relevant to this episode, it's probably something about our horoscopes and our energies.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many thoughts on Nephrite.
Me too.
So why are you tired? Are you able to share?
Am I able to share? It's just the end of a semester and everything's going crazy. And I think both of us have been having fun computer problems constantly.
Yeah, not too many computer problems for me, really more user error.
I mean, that's my.
Oh no.
I'm gonna start screaming.
Did you also delete something permanently very important?
No, but let me tell you that I have to deal with a new testing center software for my students, and I had so many errors all the time that I never used to have any, and I had 4 yesterday.
How long does it take to fix each one?
I mean, I fixed one of them.
That answers my question.
So this is where we're at. We're both frustrated with the world, mostly with computers, and low on energy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Nephrite to explain to us how to come to our point of most energy so he can steal it.
Yes.
So you're like, what?
No, he did say
sexual?
That. Yes,
when
that's why I was laughing. I thought it was sexual when he said it in the dub also.
Man, one of these people are just gonna be like, you know what? What if we just orgasms? I don't think it would work on a children's TV show, but
I guarantee there's a fan fiction out there that has changed it.
I mean, orgasm. I drain her energy. There's a horror movie that's done I don't know.
At the point of little death?
Yeah, there we go. I think there was an X-Files episode like that.
Really? Oh, that makes sense.
It was the really fun one where they were exploring the issues of transness.
Oh.
The trans character was definitely a predator. It's great.
Oh, dear.
They didn't try it.
I'm afraid of 90s versions of trans.
Every time I hit an episode of an old TV show and they're like, we're going to discuss this really sensitive topic. And you're like, I mean, sometimes they're even with good intentions. You know what I mean? But you're still maybe I'd rather you didn't. Actually, I'm glad they did at the time, at least if it had good intentions. But oh God, they don't ever hold up super well.
Well, you know what they say. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I used to have a t-shirt that said that on it.
Did you really?
I did, and I wore it to school a lot.
What was the function of that t-shirt? Just to warn people generally?
I think it was I think there was a Bible verse on it as well. And I guess I thought I was going to evangelize people by wearing that. I don't know.
I had a t-shirt that said, "This world is not my home."
Well, I like that better.
Fishbowl.
That suggests more alien activity.
I mean, it did have a Bible verse under it, so
yeah.
I don't remember which one.
You know what? There's got to be aliens, and that would mean God created those too, so.
There we go.
But on to the episode.
Let's talk. The episode title mine was A New Enemy Appears, Nephrite's Evil Crest.
Evil Crest?
Crest, like Crest, which I have questions about because I don't remember him having an evil crest.
Oh, I do. It's on the bottom of the tennis racket and on his forehead.
Oh, it's a symbol. I was thinking like a crescent moon kind of thing. I was like I don't know. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be that. And then the dub was called Match Point for Sailor Moon. You know, short and sweet.
I feel like that conveyed, I mean, I guess they both conveyed something. Mine conveyed that Nephrite was going to show up, and yours conveyed that there was going to be a tennis game.
It sure
did. I think mine sounds more exciting.
Yeah, yours, as always, the sub, like the original Japanese, makes way more sense in terms of narrative storyline, whereas the dub does not.
Right. So you have the dub, which means, of course, clearly the truest experience. And you're going to briefly summarize the episode, and then we'll go back through it.
Yes. So I wrote at the very top of my notes, tennis episode. Really big.
Tennis.
So as you can guess, the evil plan includes tennis. And so we're introduced to Nephrite, who is replacing Jadeite. You know, our fallen friend or fallen frenemy. Anyway, so Nephrite's plan, and I found this to be interesting, and I just want to say this bit, and then I'll quickly summarize the rest of it. He goes, Jadeite failed because he tried to get energy from too many people. So Nephrite's strategy is to just focus on single people, like a single person each episode, I guess. And bring them to the point of their most energy and steal it from them. So that's
he said that basically that Jadeite was indiscriminate. He just took it from anybody. He'd have sex with whoever. That he didn't say sex, but he was going to use the stars to find out who would have who was at the point in their life when it was like the best harvesting point of their life.
Yeah,
and
which is kind of sad.
Okay, I like that he has his own plan though.
Yes.
Like, it's interesting. It's also very horoscopy, which I was wondering how the dub is going to handle. So I guess we'll find out.
The same, basically.
they just went with it. I guess it's evil horoscope, so that's fine.
Yeah, well, but so was the tarot episode. That was evil tarot,
right.
But they didn't bother translating that. So basically, his plan is to focus on one person, and the person that the stars have told him to pick this episode is this girl named Katie. I don't know what her name is in the Japanese. She happens to be Molly's best friend that we've literally never heard of. And he gives her a cursed tennis racket that the more that she uses it, the more strong she becomes until it brings her to the point of her highest point of energy.
Every time you say that, it just sounds bad or good. I don't know. Anyways,
I don't know how else to say it.
I know. Anyways, go on.
At her most energetic point, I don't know. And so Sailor Moon, she, as Serena, she's trying to help Molly because obviously this girl is turning more and more evil. And so Molly's worried about her. Serena goes with her to the tennis court to see what's going on. And this girl is getting really out of control. Sailor Moon, let's see. And then at this point is when Nephrite's like, she's at her point of highest energy. And the tennis racket transforms into a monster that they definitely misgender as a he, which was weird. Yeah. And it had but it had a non-binary, I couldn't tell who the voice was, but they specifically say he. And I'm like, I don't think that's how they identify. And it turns into a monster and starts sucking her energy. And then Sailor Moon's like, I want to be able to prove myself to the rest of my team, which I'll get into whenever we get into that part. So she tries to take it on herself. It goes poorly. And then Tuxedo Mask shows up on a bench instead of a high place, which really threw me off. And then they work together to defeat the monster. And then that's pretty much the end. Everything's back to normal.
I also noticed the bench. I wrote comments on it, so we'll have to get there. Yeah, I'm looking up, by the way, the monster. The monster's name is Tsuni, which is apparently a reordering of Tennisu, Tsuni. And monsters definitely got female pronouns in Japanese, at least. So
yeah,
it does have sort of a androgynous / masculine look. So maybe they were just like, we can't have our girls thinking they can cut their hair short like this.
Whoops.
Went for it. Anyway.
No, and then there's this one shot where like I definitely noticed biologically she has like breasts. So
I mean, you know, you can have breasts and,
sure.
and, you know, be whatever. But I think that we should respect the creators.
Yeah.
Creator. Now I feel like I'm making a religious argument. No.
We should respect our Lord and Savior, Naoko Takeuchi.
I was going to say, there we go. You know, whatever. That's an interesting choice. I do believe in this episode, Zoocyte also appears.
Yes.
And I wonder, because I think they changed Zoocyte's gender as well. So this may be the episode where they're just like, we're going to jump on top of this gender thing.
Yeah, because Zoocyte is pretty femme, but they turn them into a woman in the dub. But I'm pretty sure it's a man.
Zoocyte's just a dude, but it's a dude that's, I think, gay and sort of femme. Yeah. So they had to change him into a girl so that now she's not gay.
Because I feel like there's a bit of a flirtation, like a little between them.
She's dating one of the other guys, I think.
Yeah.
And in the American version, they turn them into a guy and a girl so that it's not gay. And in maybe the Russian version, in one of the versions, they turn them into brothers, which is an interesting take.
That's
so it's
worse.
I was going to say, so it's like weirder that it's gay. No. They were like, let's just lean in. No, brothers exchange roses and kisses and things like that.
Yeah, and cuddle all the time.
I mean, it could be.
I mean,
yeah. I that's interesting that we have two. I was going to say I didn't catch the tennis one, but they didn't obviously do the tennis one in the sub. Yeah. But they guess they just were like, oh, hey, we could just make up genders for people. Cool.
Yeah, into the quote unquote right genders for these.
It would American be cool if we'd had a male monster, like just for shaking things up. Yeah. But no. So I will give them that. That would be some diversity points or something.
You know, I really do got to give props though to the character design team. I don't know who that would be in animation when they were creating a lot of these monsters. Like some of them are ultra femme, some of them are mask femme, but it's like a whole range.
You're
of
right.
Different
it's not
types.
Like all the monsters look one way. Like they're maybe not all like, oh, we just went for this looking scary or this looking, you know, sexy or this looking whatever. It's just like they just did all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
This person has I'm looking at the picture, long red fingernails and really sharp shoulder pads. I'm into it.
Yeah, the shoulder pads are dope as hell. And she's got like really dangly ruby red earrings.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's actually kind of surprising that they'd be like, yeah, that's a boy. With so the lipstick weird. And earrings and fingernails.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so it's okay to be a boy and dress femme, but it's not okay to be a woman and look mask. I guess.
Well, she also has sharp toenails. That's interesting. Ugh. I know. They're not painted red.
There is this show. Right. I just got a comment on sharp toenails. Have you seen the show Brand New Cherry Flavor on Netflix? It's pretty cool. Like cool.
All right. So we start out the episode with a new bad guy talking about his new evil plan, which is cool because it's different, which is he's like, I'm going to read the stars. I'm going to figure out when people are about to have their most amazing orgasm. He doesn't say that. Do we want to keep making this joke? I
don't know. I think we need to probably stop because the majority of the victims are going to be underage. So.
Good point. Good point. I actually don't know how old this victim was. It was unclear.
She's only a year older than Molly. That's what she says.
I mean, so is fucking Tuxedo Mask, and I think he's like in college, so who the fuck knows?
Who knows?
Anyway, so he's like, I'm gonna read the stars. It's gonna be great. And Zoocyte shows up to mock him and tease him, and
that was great.
Then leave. It was exciting. I was like, Zoocyte.
Yeah, I
I had
totally
a friend
forgotten about them.
in high school who went by the name Zoisite and looked exactly like Zoisite. It was weird, but cool.
Are you thinking of
No names.
I know, but no, there was a nickname that one of them went by.
I thought her nickname was Zoisite. I could be wrong. Maybe she had a different nickname.
Who went by, I want to say...
I say she, but I don't remember what pronouns she was using.
I don't know.
Anyways,
we didn't know about pronouns. Yeah.
We didn't know enough about pronouns at that time to even really understand our options very well.
But I'll bet we're talking about the same person. I just can't remember the name that they had given me. It was like Neko or something. I don't know. Something about cat.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But we had a whole thing in high school with anime character names, and it was you develop like interesting cultures within your little groups. Yeah. It's a fun, exciting experience growing up and making up society on your own.
Yeah. And also why I was never really allowed to relate to Sailor Moon, I feel like, because somebody had already claimed.
Yeah, claimed all the characters. My character was Makoto, so I was allowed to relate.
I think I kept just bouncing around between the
You did. You always had new characters all the time. The one I remember the most for you was from Tenchi Muyo. His little Washu. This is not a good show or a great character as far as I remember.
Washu?
Yeah. Call me little Washu.
I don't think that was me.
I'm pretty sure that was you. For like, a week.
Oh, yeah. Maybe for a week. Man, I don't remember what that character is. I don't know.
Anyway, we're on a tangent here.
So the tangents are going to be rough this episode because we're tired. So Nephrite, I wrote, he's into astrology, and he says something like everything is ruled by the stars, and then he goes into like this star math.
Yeah,
thing.
They did a whole scene where he's in a room and there's like stars floating around. He's got like a hologram chamber. He's reading the stars. There's like, I think his crest lights up on his forehead. I can't remember if that happened yet. And it was like a light shines down from the stars and beams into his forehead like he's the star man. It was pretty intense. And then he's like, yes, Rui Sainoji, this is the person. And you're like, all right, buddy, the stars told you the name. And fortunately, she lives in the same city and she's friends with the...
And goes to the same high school, I think.
Yeah, it was super convenient.
Yeah.
I noticed that. There's like, 3 billion people on the planet? I don't know how many there currently are.
Did he call upon Sagittarius to shoot with their arrow the person?
I think he said that Sagittarius is shooting them, and therefore that's why they're going to have powers. Like, he just saw that it was going to happen. I don't think he called upon it.
Oh,
It was unclear to me. So then he's like, this is the person. And you're like, cool, that's convenient. And then we cut to her being chased by reporters.
Oh.
Because...
We do?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like chasing her down the street because she's so popular.
I think they cut so much from this episode.
Really?
Like, because the majority of it is just on the tennis court. And from there, we cut straight to tennis. And she's just playing tennis.
Oh, okay. By the way, I'm looking at a wiki article and it says Nephrite establishes his base up in the mountains. And I was like, what?
Okay, I was wondering where that house was. So like the room that you're talking about was in like this haunted castle looking place in
I just assumed it was in the underworld. Like I assume they always go back to the underworld.
I thought that at first, like the first person he was going to attack was in that house or something.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
It's like a real house that's I guess
like
just
he's gonna have a cool mountain house.
Yeah.
Or castle. Anyways, I just noticed
more
that. I was like,
mansion maybe than castle, but it's
well,
in a high
his whole persona, as we're gonna see in a minute, is like rich dude, which I'm like, all right, bud.
Yeah.
I hate him already.
Very much contrasted with Jadeite, who was a humble
wanted
man
to be a janitor. I know. I'm like, I miss Jadeite so much already.
I know. Jadeite the janitor, especially when this guy first shows up as like his human presenting self, but we'll get there in a second. So tell me about her being chased by reporters.
It's just a short scene. It's just they're chasing her down the street and she's like, and then that's it. I think it was just to establish that she's like, talented enough that reporters are interested. So she's super talented. Yeah, then we go to the Molly and Sailor Moon are watching her play, like, I guess at her high school, which again makes it extra weird that reporters are mobbing this poor girl. And we find out, like you said, that Molly has secretly had this really good friend who she actually calls her sister.
Yeah.
And did she do this in the dub too?
She did, yeah. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Because Sailor Moon's like, what? You have a sister and you never told me. I'm so mad. And then Molly's like, no, she's not my sister. Her mom shops at our jewelry store all the time, which is a weird way to be friends with someone. And so we've known each other since we were little. And so she's like my sister.
Okay, so in the dub, she says that their moms are best friends. So they basically grew up together.
I feel like that makes more sense than her mom shops in our jewelry store.
That's
so much.
So not what I expected. Okay, question. So at that point I'll hold this for later. There's like a weird, really long flashback that's completely silent in the dub. And it's silent in the sub as well.
It was like there was music playing, but yeah, it was just like showing them as little kids. Baby Molly's really super cute. I was like, oh, baby Molly. And it's just like the classic little kid things of like, you know, the older sister chasing off some bullies and they're playing games together. And it just establishes that they're very cute and they have a long history.
Yeah.
And I guess we have to do this so we care about this girl.
And then we'll never see her again.
Exactly.
All right, so she's got a sister, and then Nephrite. Is this when Nephrite shows up in the sub? This is the
best scene. I want to hear, yeah.
Okay,
lead us in.
He shows up. I don't know what kind of car this is, but I called it a Lambo in my notes.
I just wrote, fast, shiny, red car goes vroom.
Yes, he does like the vroom vroom, just like Jadeite.
Yeah, they're all into the vroom vrooms.
But this vroom is a fancy vroom.
Yes. And so he vrooms.
He could not be more different than Jadeite. I wonder if he's actually trying too hard to be different than Jadeite.
Yeah, his whole vibe is immediately giving me a real particular like he's got the I don't know what they call him currently, but like the pickup artist thing where he's like, I can play head games and manipulate women with my alpha maleness. Like I've got my fancy car and I'm rich and I'm pretty and like I'm in charge. And you're just like, I hate you. Die.
Did he do like head games and stuff?
I feel like the astrology is like a head game because he like gives you an enchanted thing. Actually, we'll get to it in a second. Yeah. There is something.
Okay. So I wrote, he shows up as a business baddie. No janitors for him. And then he just shows up and starts mansplaining how to play tennis to the
That's what I was going to say. That's the head game. He shows up. Everyone's like, oh, that's this new rich businessman or something like that. They're like, wow, and everyone goes all heart eyes for him. He backflips over a fence in his suit.
I think they cut that. I think he just walked in.
No, it was so amazing. This is what I said. His vibes are intense. Yeah, he backflips over the fence.
Oh no, you're right.
In the tennis court. Yeah. They go, hey, you can't just walk onto the tennis court because it's wildly rude. Yeah. And then he just walks up and goes, let me tell you how to play. And they're like, what? And he's like, you swing the court, the racket differently. And they're like, okay. And then they do. But it was like, like you said, he just shows up and starts tennis-splaining or mansplaining. It was a vibe.
His advice in the dub was, you just need to put your weight into it. Put your weight into the ball. And I'm like, dude, this girl's been playing tennis since she was a child. I think she knows how to hit it.
That was pretty close to his advice. It was like, you gotta change how your weight. And you're just like, what the fuck? And like, yeah, the other girl was like, I got heart eyes, so I'm gonna do it. And yeah, it was.
Yeah. And then I guess our girl is just so polite that she just does it. But he, his name in the dub is Maxfield Stanton.
Oh my God. Why did he need a name?
Did he not have a human name?
Oh, okay. I'm looking again at the wiki. It said that it said he's pretending to be a coach called Masato Sanjoin, but I don't remember him introducing himself at all. I thought he just showed up and started giving directions.
He did just start giving directions. Somebody else calls him by that name, but it's weird because he is both the president of his own company and wildly successful and pretending
to be a tennis coach. That's what threw me off. I was like, why are you pretending to be a tennis coach? Why don't you just show up and be like, I want to buy your tennis team for my company or something
sponsor
dumb like
you
that.
and use the sponsored tennis
But
racket.
I think it's because this is what lets him be like the alpha, like I just start giving you directions and like gaslight you into thinking you're bad at tennis.
That was so weird. So he touches her tennis racket.
No, first he bats the tennis ball at her so hard that she hurts her wrist.
I forgot about that.
To show off his and she's like, ow, my wrist. And you're like, that sounded, and then he's like, aha. And then the other girl just vanishes. So I don't know what happened to the other player.
She's in the Negaverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have ruined her entire tennis career.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he still did. So, okay. So she's dropped her racket. That's how he gets his hands on her racket, I guess. Because he picks it up and hands it to her. But when he's touching it, his little crest shows at the bottom, at the base of the handle. So we know that something is cursed now about
Does he say, because in mine, he mentally says something like, my monster, go into this racket and take it over and do weird stuff.
He says something about, I imbue this racket with the power of blah, 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 blah. I don't know, something boring. He doesn't say anything about putting a monster into it, which makes it extra confusing when he calls
when a monster shows up.
Yeah, when he calls upon a monster to exit the racket because it's time.
You're like, what? No, I thought it was interesting that instead of having so Nephrite or Jadeite was very I got these young monsters with big ideas and I just let them do their own thing. And this guy is like, no, I'm the boss and I say that you're going in the fucking tennis racket. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, Jadeite is a much better manager. He's more laissez-faire, hands off, I like your idea, go execute.
I don't like Nephrite.
No.
He's a micromanager and he doesn't seem to think highly of women.
No, whereas I feel like Jadeite respected women. He just liked to also use them for things.
Well, he was a little unnerved by women, and I appreciate that in a man.
You know, maybe he was asexual, and so he's just like, oh God, they're hitting on me.
It could be.
Okay, so the racket is going to continue to increase this tennis player's energy until she reaches the peak at which he'll call upon the monster to come out. And then in the dub, we cut to Luna.
Did we see her? Oh, did we not see her try and use the racket? Because this is exciting.
Oh, yeah, she does start.
They call out, they're like, someone come pair with her. Because again, I don't know what happened to the girl she was playing against. This girl vanished. But they call out, they're like, who will come play against her? And so one of the boys, the onlooking boys, is like, yay, I want to come play. So he comes out and she hits the ball so hard, it sinks into the pavement of the court. And then she's like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, here's my question. In tennis, if you did succeed in digging the ball into the pavement so that it didn't come back, how does that play out?
Game over.
Is that a legal tennis move? Oh, game over. Yeah. I mean, is that a legal tennis move if the ball doesn't bounce?
Tennis players of the audience, tell us what would happen.
I feel like that would not be a legal tennis move, but I also feel like it's probably impossible. So I feel like you could have murdered that dude.
Yeah, if it had hit him, it would have sunk into his brain for sure, and he would have loved it. Oh yeah. So then
now we cut to Luna.
Now we cut to Luna in the closed down game center where she is again speaking to this random computer voice that we've only seen once before. And okay, in the dub, it's gotta
be Artemis, right?
Yeah, it's probably Artemis. Okay. In the dub, she goes, password, Kitty stalks in moonlight. And then computer Artemis comes back with, Kitty will be fed.
Oh my God. No, they did a very, you eat mochi on the moon and then the mochi's too sticky and it's bubbling. And I was like, I assume this makes sense to someone who knows more about making mochi, but it was cute.
Yeah.
It was the rabbit eats mochi on the moon, which sounded sort of meaningful.
That sounds way more like code words than Kitty stalks in moonlight. And so then they're having a conversation about, and I literally was like, what? Because he goes, we believe, he starts explaining the Negaverse, and we believe they're collecting.
It's about time.
I know. We believe that they're collecting human energy for some nefarious purpose. And Luna goes, so that's what they're doing. And I was like, Did you not know this whole time?
I feel like not only did they know, I feel like Luna has said this before, and I also feel like the bad guys have brought it up before. They've been like, hey, we're collecting human energy for our master. And they've been like, no, stop that.
They absolutely have. So did they say the same thing in the sub?
Yeah, they said, he said, and it says, by the way, again, I'm looking at this wiki article, and it says, he reveals the name Dark Kingdom. And they all go, Dark Kingdom. And I think it may have been at like Darku Kingdom or something, you know, like where it was in, like maybe sounds cooler in Japanese because like
now it's Megaverse.
Everyone going, oh, the Dark Kingdom, and you're like, that does not sound like a real name. And then he's like, yeah, they're stealing human energy, and I also remember Luna going, human energy, and you're like, we know, Luna, we've been here.
Like, y'all are bad at your jobs. I'm sorry.
He also says he doesn't know what the final goal is, which I really like, because I also feel like that's been laid out. Although we have also not always been clear on what the final goal is. But it's like resurrecting a ruler or something. I don't remember.
It must be resurrecting somebody for their dark ruler. That makes sense, actually. That's the closest we've gotten to, like, what's it for is to resurrect, I guess.
Yeah, there was some, like, emperor, queen or something they wanted to bring back. So that was exciting, and we now know something that I kind of thought we already knew. Here's the other thing, though. I feel like this might have been a season break, because this episode had a lot of, like, new season vibes to me. Like, even the little intro bit was different.
Yes.
She gave a slightly different speech about, I have friends and I fight evil, instead of, like, the I'm a new superhero speech she used to do. So I think this is, like, a new season start, which is why we had that cool climax with the bad guy last time. And then that may be why they're trying to reestablish the Dark Kingdom and the energy, and they're just reestablishing everything.
That makes sense. And in the dub, they did add a couple new intro clips. And as you had mentioned last time, this, which was the last time we were going to have in the dub, the scrolling like Star Wars intro.
I'm going to miss it.
Thing. That's gone. It still spoils the Moon Princess, but but it's more like the intro that I remember watching on television. So then in the dub, we cut to her explaining this information to the Sailor team.
Yeah, and they're like, human energy, Dark Kingdom. And you're like, okay, guys, we've been here. Thanks.
Yeah, and they're talking about how they need to start training. And then Serena goes, speaking of training, there's a new tennis coach in town. Let's go take lessons or something. Like, let's go back to the tennis court. Is that what happens in the sub?
I want to say, first of all, that Ray said something like, we should jump in immediately and just do something that was very Ray, and I enjoyed that. It was really cute. And then, Sailor Moon was like, there's a hot new guy. We should go do it. And then they kind of start ragging her. Well, Ray and Luna start ragging her for only being interested in the new dude. Yeah. And then Ami goes, you guys are too harsh on her. And she goes, you're my best friend, and hugs her. It was really funny and cute. I thought this bantering had a fun vibe. I liked it. And then she's like, will you come do tennis with me? And Ami's like, well, I have to cram school, so I can't. And everyone's like, yeah, that serves you right. So I don't know. It was cute. I enjoyed it. This felt lighthearted.
It was so mean.
No, I mean, I knew it would
always is. So she mentions the hot new tennis coach, and then Ray's like, oh, so you're not interested in Tuxedo Mask anymore? And Serena's like, no. And I thought that was weird, because she's never not been interested in Tuxedo Mask.
She did not mention that at all.
Yeah, so. It was very strange. And then Luna is just so mean. She goes, good thing we have Amy and Ray. If Serena was the only Sailor Scout, the Negaverse would have already sucked all the human energy on Earth.
She did say something kind of like that, but again, it just felt more lighthearted because, like, I don't know, they're kind of joshing. I felt like a little more. It was the meanest thing I remember her saying in the sub, but it wasn't like, again, Luna sounds younger, so I think, again, it sounds less mean because it sounds more like friend groups just kind of being like, oh my God, Sailor. You know, like, it felt more like just a friend being like,
right.
And not like a momager judging you.
Yeah, it's like your English teacher is like shitting on you in front of your friends.
Yeah, it
That's
would be like a
what it feels
wildly inappropriate thing for an adult to say about a child they were mentoring, but not a weird thing for another child who's trying to figure out how to keep things in order to just be like, oh my God, what's up with this?
Exactly.
And once again, we're going to see in this episode that everyone's like, oh, you're just following romance and stuff, that this always pays off for Sailor Moon because she
was right.
finds bad guys doing this and she's driven to help her friends because she cares about their romances, and like we see these things pay off for her. And so I think that at least within the sub, the episode is very much like, it seems frivolous, but following her heart is the best thing that Sailor Moon can do.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, not only was this thing from Luna not true, because she was actually doing fine on her own. But it's also just mean like, oh, just because she has a crush, that means that she's bad at her job. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So
and it
annoying.
wasn't like, I mean, I guess they did say we need to do something, but it wasn't like they had a plan for what to do.
Right.
Like they weren't like, we need to go specifically do this thing. And Sailor Moon was like, I want to do something else. It was just like, cool, there's bad guys. What are we going to do about it? We don't know where they are.
Right. I mean, they might as well follow Serena's gut when it comes to like hot new dudes in town, because she's always right, because they always end up being bad guys.
Very true.
And like, at what point are they going to be like, you know what? Serena always, like, her track record is always on point. So at what point is the rest of the team just going to acknowledge that and be like, whatever Serena's whim is today, let's just follow
It'll pay off.
Yeah.
It's true. It's so true.
So in the dub, Amy doesn't really it's like less effective as a helpful thing. It's like, oh, wow, the words are not working for me. But what you said is not what happens in the dub. Amy goes, don't forget, Serena's our leader. And no, she's not.
I don't think they've really established that at that point.
No, like, this is the whole infighting thing.
And it's not really it was cuter in this one where she's just like, oh, guys, like, I don't know, it had a more, like, balanced friend group vibe, because it's things friends say about each other. They kind of, like, two people ragging on her and someone else kind of sticking up for her, and then her dramatically being like, you're my only real friend, like, dramatically.
Right.
And then her being like, yeah, I have to go study, and then being like, ha, 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 ha. Like, it was cute. It was cute. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, and in this one, meh. It's not. And yeah, they have definitely not established that there's a leader yet, because they have not found, because remember in the dub,
they're all like, we got to find the Moon Princess.
Yeah, they're still talking about that because the Moon Princess is the leader. So I just feel like that there's another scene that's missing, because in the Sailor Says, there's like a scene with Darian and Ray, and I don't know if that's from another episode. That's
must be from another episode.
Okay.
They pull random things. Like they had an ice cream bit in one of the Sailor Says that showed up like three episodes later. And I was like, oh, it's the ice cream.
Yeah, like
so they just pull shit.
I always thought that they were just like cut, like that's where the cut scenes went. So in the dub, we're then cutting to
Molly being upset about all the Rui not being normal.
Yes, and they call her Katie in the dub, and so she's like, something's really wrong. So is Serena like, I think she's at Molly's house or something, or
I think first we see Molly being like, oh no, and then we cut to her talking to Serena at her house and being like, oh no. Yeah. She's really upset because like her sister friend is acting like really, really weird.
Yeah.
And basically,
and has been just like really mean to people and just like absolutely like crushing and hurting them on the tennis court, and then being like, come on, yeah. And then
and like I thought there was a sweet bit where Molly had they had a flashback to like 10 seconds ago where Molly had tried to like, she'd been like, you know, if there's something bothering you, like you can talk to me. And then the person was just like, go away or whatever. Like, but it was really cute because it showed again their relationship, that she sensed something was wrong, and the way you respond when someone's wrong is you try and tell them like, I can tell something's wrong, please talk to me. And then they're just like, get out of my way. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, in the dub, she's like, why don't you just mind your own business? And
Yeah, and it was like, oh, something's definitely wrong.
Yeah, I wrote a sick burn.
Oh,
like,
sorry, bud.
I felt like there was something stronger that they said in the sub, probably.
I can't really remember what she said, but I was like, oh, poor Molly.
So then Serena's like, okay, well, let's go together down to the tennis court. And then this is the first time that I've seen Serena have a bad feeling or like get bad vibes from something.
Yeah. But it's very Serena is that she cares about people's relationships. And so Molly is telling her how distressed she is. Molly's crying. Molly's talking about a relationship. And Serena's just like, yeah, this relationship, something's wrong. I'm going to go fix it.
Yeah.
Which we have seen her do at least once before. And what it reminded me the most of was the piano playing episode where the one dude told her about his thing with his girlfriend and the thing. And she got really invested in that. And it was like, that's the way Serena does her monster hunting and troubleshooting is she's helping people with their relationships. And I don't know. I really like it.
It's interesting that like wherever there's relationship issues is usually where the Negaverse is at work.
And it kind of makes sense because they are fucking around with people's patterns of behaviors and energies, as we said.
Yeah.
Oh. Yes. And she says, like, we're going to solve this. They go to her tennis training area, I think. Mm-hmm. Her tennis school.
Well, I think it's like late at night too, because Molly
yeah,
because she's been staying like later and later. I guess like
it's dark out.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, they're gonna investigate while it's empty, but they're still there, which makes sense because she's crazy or whatever.
Yeah,
and she's not only harassing other high school players by kicking their asses, she's now harassing professional tennis players by kicking their asses.
Yeah, and she goes, "I thought you were professionals."
They're like throwing themselves to the ground to try to get away from these like tennis balls that are like bullets. I think I would leave.
Yeah, and they're trying to leave and she doesn't want them to go. And so then Serena and Molly walk onto the court to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, you need to stop doing this to them.
Yeah. And so she's like, get out of my way, Molly.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if this is where she does it.
The serve, the super cyclone serve.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think she called it anything. She just.
Oh, I called it that.
Comes at them. Oh, okay, good. I was like, it did look like she like hits, like she swings her tennis racket hard enough to generate a super cyclone, which blows Serena and Molly
into a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a bush.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming it knocks Molly out because I don't think she sees anything that happens.
Yeah, when Sailor Moon gets up to transform, Molly is just still on the ground. So I guess Molly is just conveniently passed out from the cyclone. But Sailor Moon did not pass out, which would have been very inconvenient.
Right. Well, I guess she's got superpowers or whatever, so it probably didn't knock her out. So especially because she takes a beating the rest of this episode. So she runs around the corner to transform. And what did you say?
I said, does she? I have comments. I think also at this point, what's her name passed out yet? The other person and turned into the monster. Or not turned in.
I think this is... I'm not sure if she...
I think Sailor Moon doesn't transform until after the monster appears. So I think this is where Rui passes out and the tennis racket wakes up.
Yeah,
crazy sentence.
I know. So Nephrite, we hear his voice in the dub, and I'm not a big fan of his voice actor. No offense to whoever that guy is. And he's like, this is when he calls for the monster to come out. Come out,
yeah,
monster.
Like suck all of her energy or whatever.
Yeah. And
her energy levels are at their peak.
Yes. Yes. And so the monster comes out, and then I guess
and
Sailor
she's
Moon
taken all of Rui's energy, and so by taking all that energy, she passes out, the monster appears.
Yeah. And this is where in the dub, Sailor Moon misgenders the monster as like a he. And I was
also,
like, really?
Real fast, because I'm thinking about it, this is the point where like you got the energy. Could you just leave? Like, why are they staying around to fight Sailor Moon? Like, leave. You got it. You're done.
Yeah, it's clear to me that Jadeite is just the better baddie in my mind.
I mean, I think everyone's gonna be held up to the measure of Jadeite.
Yeah. Maybe we won't even dress up for Nephrite's funeral, depending on how the rest of this season goes.
Maybe Nephrite won't die. You don't know. Maybe he'll have a coming of age and learn to stop being such a dick.
I know. I doubt
He's so hateable.
Yeah.
Just everything about him is terrible, including him marching onto a tennis court where they're like, you can't be here. And he just starts telling them what to do. It was so weird. They're professional tennis players.
Yeah. It was gross. I had also made a note, like when he was doing his astronomy thing, I was like, is this the one that lines up with Sailor Mercury? Like, and they're meant to be together? Because he seems a little mathy.
He is definitely Makoto's. And I remember this because they actually, I think, have an episode where they sort of do some flirtation stuff.
Ew.
But I could be wrong.
Bad choice in men, Makoto.
I know, right? He is sporty, though, and she's sporty.
Yeah, maybe. Well, she is pretty badass, so...
I think she could kick his ass.
She could, definitely. So maybe that makes him less of a dick.
Yeah, maybe he'll be less of a dick because he'll, like her or something.
Yeah. So...
I don't know.
At this,
maybe we're just wishful thinking. I may even be just thinking of like fan fiction.
That's true.
Like, let's go in and fix him.
Yeah.
I can fix him.
I can fix him with my love. So
I was gonna say with my editorial powers. Just rewrite his personality.
This
form of love.
I was gonna. So you had asked, potentially rhetorically, why they stick around to fight Sailor Moon. I think that it's because of ego. Because, you know, Sailor Moon and her Sailor Senshi have just been defeating them at every turn. And so I think when he sees her show up, he's like, okay, attack her. Like, this is my chance to show up.
To be fair, he does come close to winning when she's by herself.
Yeah.
So the let's talk about how the monster does the attack, because it was surreal, and that's why I said, did she get beat up? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, because of the fireballs. So first, this monster turns her into a giant tennis ball, and it's super effective.
It's unclear if, like, her body has transformed to a tennis ball or if they've, like, wrapped a tennis ball around her body, but it's, like, a giant tennis ball with little hands and feet and a head sticking out of it, and it bounces her all around, and it was amazing. And by the way, it doesn't bounce her around with, like, a racket or something. It appears to be able to, like, levitate her with its thoughts because she's a tennis ball, which is a level of power that is pretty intense. And yeah, I don't blame her for being like, I don't know what to do. You know, by the way, Sailor Moon was like, this is my chance to prove to the other people that I can handle things on my own, which is why she charged in to handle things on her own.
Exactly. Narrator, she was wrong. I also think my headcanon is now that Tasuna, was that her name? This monster? Mm-hmm. I think she is the essence of tennis, and that's why her power was to turn her into a tennis ball.
That would make sense. I feel like maybe as the monster in the tennis racket was pulling energy out of the other girl, that like maybe she took on the power of like just a really intense tennis player, like that created her form rather than she was like tennis related before she went into the racket.
Yeah.
This is my new theory. I'm making it up right now. Is that the other people had like interests of their own that they went out and pursued, but these people are just like shaped by the power they draw.
Oh, so maybe, do you think that these monsters existed before the moment that Nephrite pulls them out?
So, that's a good question. I think they do exist, but he just is such an asshole. He kind of like overwrites their personalities. Like, they're not allowed to be independent people.
I hate him.
I do.
I miss Jadeite. All right, so she's a giant tennis ball. Bounces her around the court. Tuxedo Mask arrives.
Shows up to save her. I think you've got chocolate on your lip.
Yep.
Just in case you care.
Oh, what is my life?
Delicious.
I'm still hungry. Okay.
Yeah, Tuxedo Mask shows up to save her, which is very dramatic.
And he's on a bench. Did you have something to say about that?
I was going to say, he shows up the first time ever, not up high. He's sitting on a bench. He's kind of like chuckling and smiling. And there's literally right next to the bench a tall chair, referee chair, like that people judge tennis matches on. I was like, you could have been on that tall chair, but you're on the bench.
Or the fence, because it's a tennis court, so it's surrounded by a very tall fence.
Yeah. I was really concerned about him. And I will say he's going to have like a moment later where he's like sick. And I'm like, maybe he's sick. Maybe he's not okay.
I didn't understand that. But
this is my thing. Maybe that's why he's down low. He's not feeling well.
He's been brought low. And what was it we said last time by like, that's basically his kryptonite being low?
Yeah, he has like less powers down low to the ground. I did notice that while he was talking, Serena was flat on her face on the ground. So there was at least like a little bit of a differential there. I felt like that maybe helped him out some.
If you look in the background, so there's this wide shot where, and he talks like more in this episode. I mean, obviously last episode he talked a lot too. And then in this episode, he's Mr.
He's chatty.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Talkie Mask.
He hangs around to help. That's unusual.
Yeah, it was weird. Probably because he knew that she needed the help. But he's sitting on the bench and he's like, says, I don't know, some superhero thingy about like, let's play or something. And then he jumps into the sky using the light to kind of blind, like he's jumping in front of the light so like you can't quite see him. And then he has a new power, which is his stick, and it gets really long. And he like hits the monster with it. And I said, new stick power, not phallic at all.
I love it. There was a lot of weird, I felt almost like the tennis ball thing was some sort of kink thing. Like, I don't know why, it just had a weird vibe. And I didn't know what to make of it.
There was one shot where it would have been an upskirt shot had she
and she's in the tennis ball and she's like bent over talking to him. And I was just like, what's happening here?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting kink if that is. Yeah, I'm really into women stuck in giant tennis balls. Okay, so I guess he gets her out of the ball, or the ball disappears because he's hit the monster with his stick. And then the monster switches to fireballs for some reason and starts just like tossing them out like candy. And Sailor Moon is trying to dodge them like back and forth. And then I guess she gets like, she's about to get hit by a big one. And Tuxedo Mask touches her, I think, for the first time because he like picks her up and jumps into the sky. And she's looking at him like all blushy.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. I'm going to be honest. It made my heart do a little flutter thing. Same. So I was here for it. Was into it.
I was here for it.
And to be fair, like they were all dodging firebolts like crazy. It didn't feel like out of place that like, we had to come in for a save for someone because then they just went right back to dodging fireballs.
Right. But and then
cool. I liked it.
He's like, let's defeat her together. He uses his rose attack, and for some reason, by hitting the monster in the face with his rose, he gets electrocuted.
No, maybe. So this is where he tries to help out, and then I didn't think it was anything related to the monster. He just had like a moment, like he's sick. He falls to his knees. His whole fucking body flickers like he's a hologram. It was weird. I was like, what's wrong with him? Maybe maybe.
Oh, I only saw like a little bolt of lightning on the dub.
I thought it was flickering. I could be remembering wrong, but it was like flickering weirdly. And he does it a couple times. And they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "I'm fine." I don't remember what he said. I really don't. But yeah, I was like, "What's wrong with him?" So I thought it was more meant to be like he's having like a sick moment rather than it was directly something the bad guy was doing. Because they're like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, in the dub, it felt more connected. Like I don't know, but they also didn't try very hard to explain. In fact, they didn't try at all. They didn't explain it at all, and so I just kind of assumed. So maybe we'll find out in the next episode if he's still feeling sick.
Yeah, so he tries to like get the monster still with the rose so that Sailor Moon can take him out, but then he has a moment and she's like goes to check on him and he's like, no, you got to take the monster out. So she does go take the monster out while the monster's still tied up.
Yeah.
But it was unclear what had happened that brought him down.
Yeah.
But the reason I thought it wasn't just the monster is that later she says something like, I hope he's okay. And I was like, yeah, me too.
She says
but
that
maybe it was supposed to be the monster and I missed it. I thought it was supposed to be something unrelated.
I don't know. You know, maybe it's because he freaking drowned in the last episode.
Yeah. I mean, and he's been low to the ground for a really long time. That can't be good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if they're setting up something.
That would be interesting. Especially, maybe it is related because the bad guys are his generals. So maybe it's like affecting him in some way. But I'm just going to maintain it's because he's too low to the ground. He's feeling sick. So she does her tiara magic and destroys the monster, and it turns into sparkles instead of dust. And I wonder if that's just going to be a one-time thing or not, but I'm assuming that the sparkles are the energy that it had stolen from the tennis player. That would make
sense. And that would be why the tennis player is like just fine afterwards.
Yeah. Perfectly fine and doesn't remember anything.
And Sailor Mercury and Mars show up somehow.
Late.
I don't know how they knew to come, but they just get to go, oh, and then that's the end.
Yeah. And then they're, it's back at, normal school day or something. And Molly is happy that like Katie or Rui doesn't seem to remember anything and is back to her normal self. And Katie invites her to play tennis and she goes, only if you go easy on me. And so Molly gets to serve first, and while Serena's just kind of on the side and she's dreaming about Tuxedo Mask and she hopes that he's okay, and then she gets hit in the face with a ball. It's funny.
It was cute. And it was a cute ending, and it was a cute episode. I liked it. I enjoyed that Nephrite really was so different from Jadeite. Like, I thought it would just kind of... I remember this anime as being very formulaic, mm-hmm. and as I'm watching it, it really... so far at least hasn't been. There's been a lot of like variety and theming and stuff to these different episodes, and I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely formulaic in terms of like monster do bad thing, Sailor Scouts kill monster, but
they shake it up. I mean, like Sailor Moon got turned into a tennis ball this episode. That was new.
Yeah, there was a lot of yelling in the dub about, oh, I hate tennis balls, and oh, I hate fireballs. Dodge. It was, she talked a lot.
Okay, she didn't say that. Yeah. That was weird. So I am excited to hear what the Sailor Moon says was.
What do you
think? I you're right, I have to guess.
What do you think it was?
I mean, it's never what you think it is, but if I had to guess, I would do something about, like, ambition and, like, don't get too invested in your sports, like, take a break, or, like, always leave time for friends. Or it might be maybe, like, don't talk to strangers. Don't let them be your tennis coach. Those are my two guesses.
Don't let mansplainers mansplain.
I mean, it's good advice.
Well, because any of those would be great options. Aside from what it is, which is, I wrote it down. It's hard to be brave, but there are lots of ways to be brave besides fighting monsters, like telling the truth, especially when it really matters, or standing up for someone when they're geeked out with embarrassment, or doing what's right when you know it's not anything you want to do. And then Luna goes, like doing that homework that's been stacking up on your bed. And Serena goes, homework heroic? No way.
I have some notes. My first note was telling the truth, like even remotely. I mean, that was not a theme in this episode. Nobody lied.
No.
My second episode comment was geeked out with embarrassment is not an actual phrase that anyone has ever used, except for whoever just wrote this line.
Yeah.
That's not what geeking out means.
Mm-hmm.
And then my third comment is that the homework heroic no way has like the exact vibes of that Barbie they put out that was like, math is hard.
Oh my God, I remember that.
And everyone was like, don't do that.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyways.
Yeah, so they were showing, that's why I asked if there was a scene with Darian and Ray like in normal clothes, because that shows up when she's saying, like, telling the truth when it really matters. And I was like, what? And then, or standing up for someone when they're geeked out with embarrassment, it shows Marvin. And Marvin wasn't even in this episode.
What? Okay. I mean, he is geeked out with embarrassment. You're like Melvin, I'll be here for you.
Marvin, Melvin, whatever.
I think it's Melvin. I can't remember.
So have I been calling him Marvin this whole
No, I don't think so. I mean, we didn't talk about him this episode because he wasn't in it.
Yeah. Yep. So that's
I have a few comments. Mm-hmm. First of all, I'm looking at this wiki article, and it's giving me the names of the dub titles in different languages.
Ooh.
And most of them are pretty similar. They're like, a powerful enemy has arrived, Nephrite's the new powerful enemy, a new enemy, Nephrite's evil coat of arms. And then we've got the new friend, which really raises questions. That's
Which
French.
Friend?
I don't know. Who's the new friend? I think it might be Nephrite, which I like. You know, everyone else is like, he's a new enemy, but the French version is really taking a stance and being like, you know, any new person is a potential new friend.
Right.
And then in German, they call it der tennis crack, which means the tennis crack. And I really like that. That's my favorite
The
title.
tennis crack? Like, as in crack cocaine? Or
Yes,
the crack in the
in,
ground?
I mean, it does not tell me what type. It's der tennis crack. So maybe like a crack of a bat. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
But I really like that. That's my favorite title so far. And then I also want to note it has a list of changes from the manga, which I was like, oh, that could be interesting. They're not. But here's our list. The manga's version of episode 22 is when Nephrite takes over Jadeite's position of stealing energy, while in the anime, he does this first in this episode. And you're like, what? So I don't know what that means. But I think they're saying the manga's version of this is when he shows up, and I'm like, yes, I know. Then it says Nephrite didn't have a civilian identity. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
But he did, though.
And then it says, these events never happened in the manga. And that's my favorite change. Oh. That is a big change.
Yeah. Oh, so in the manga, he didn't have a human. For some reason, I misunderstood that.
No, yeah, he didn't have a human cover, I guess.
No,
which is fine, because he doesn't really seem like he's going to use it much, but whatever.
I would love it if he did.
So, that was wild, and I wanted to share that. And then I think it's my turn to come up with the activity.
Yeah.
So I had a few possibilities. I was thinking we could do horoscopes, since we're so into horoscopes. Yeah. But actually what I kind of want to do is take a look at the rules of tennis and try to figure out how many of them we broke. Because I don't feel like... So, you know, Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask were like playing tennis against this girl, or like dodging fireballs, which is like playing tennis. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like anyone was playing right.
No, nobody was.
So if we started going through the list of how to play tennis. Well, actually, first, here's a wiki how. Okay, how to play tennis. Have you always wanted to learn to play tennis, but you've been unsure of where to start? Do you love watching Rafael Nadal or Maria Sharapova dominate the courts and hope to be just like them? Yes, this is me.
Why those two and not the Venus and Serena Williams?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Because they like literally dominate the
court. Good point. So, okay, so it doesn't say to get an evil dude named Nephrite to be in charge of your tennis playing. Mm-hmm. It says you got to find a place to play.
Sure.
They recommend a large open space. It would be hard to play tennis in a small room.
Yeah, that's called racquetball.
This will minimize the risk of breaking anything with your racket or a ball.
I still see no instructions on how to actually play.
You know, they did break some stuff, so I think even with the large court, they were failing. Buy tennis supplies. Yeah, you probably do need a racket with its own case.
And its own crest.
Make sure your hand fits comfortably around the handle. Yeah, that's a start. Don't use a tennis racket that your hand won't be able to hold on to.
Yeah, just like imagine the size of the racket you would need to hit the Serena ball.
That's true. This is like, you're like, okay, your first problem is the Serena ball is too big and you need a racket like this big to hit it. Buy at least 3 tennis balls. So that was one of their mistakes. They should have had Sailor Mercury and Sailor Mars there also, as tennis balls as well, because they do get lost very easily.
Are they going to talk about
clothes? Are
they going to talk about playing tennis at any point?
No, we're still getting ready. Buy tennis clothes. Apparently, you need tennis clothes to play tennis. You may need a skirt. Were they wearing tennis skirts? You know what? Tuxedo Mask should totally have been wearing a tennis skirt.
He had a cape, which it flutters. But...
he could have wrapped it around his waist. It would have been great. tennis shoes are the best to play tennis in them, but if you don't have them, any pair of shoes will do. Okay, I think that's wrong. To be fair, like Mars is like permanently in heels. Yeah. Sailor Moon is permanently in boots. Like, find an opponent. That would help. So they did find an opponent. Good job, guys. You did it. Is it Nephrite or the villain or the sister? I don't know.
They're all one.
Try asking online. Okay. Learning the basics. Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Learn about the parts of the court. Figuring out the different areas of the tennis court is the first step in learning how to play.
So what are they?
Different parts of the court are better for different kinds of plays. So spend some time walking around the court before starting to practice. What are we doing? Tennis courts are divided in two by a net. One side is yours, the other side is your opponent's. Wow, if you're at this level, you might need like more help to get started.
Wait, so at this point, you have spent hundreds of dollars already.
And you're like, oh, there's a net. I should stay on, it says you have to stay on your side of the net. I think they did actually stay on opposite sides of the net for the whole episode.
I think you're right,
guys. There's a thinner line between the baseline and the net. This is the service line. You'll aim your serves in the area between the net and the service line. I really love that they're explaining like the concept of a net, but not what a serve is.
Right.
Okay, I'm skipping the rest of this, but there's a lot of descriptions of lines. Learn the basics of tennis scoring. Again, you still haven't taught me how to like hit the ball, but you're explaining the scoring. Oh my God. I can't read this. The numbers 15, 30, 40... Breaking the serve occurs when the player who didn't serve wins the game. Ooh, I think that's what happened.
Wait, what's breaking the serve supposed to mean? I mean...
It's when the player who didn't serve wins the game. I don't think they served.
Oh, that's just like a phrase for like, oh, Maria Sharapova broke the serve this time because she won. Or you're just winning that set or match.
What do you think the score was at the end of the game?
Well, just judging by all the fireballs, it's got to be like 100 love.
Yeah, I don't think, you know what? I think that shows that you could launch like 100 balls and get 100 points, but if the other team does destroy you into dust with the tiara, they win.
I think so too.
I think this brings us to talking about next week and then our Sailor Says.
Yes.
So I will say that next week's episode 15/12, is called An Unnatural Phenomena, which is, I think, not how you say, isn't phenomena the plural?
Yeah. Phenomenon, I think, is the singular.
Yeah, so they just typoed it. Yeah, it's a plural noun. Okay. Just checking. And then it's called, hang on, I got distracted by that. Usagi's Panic, Rei's First Date. And I hate this already.
It's going to be with Darien. I think she asks him out.
It is. She's going to go out with Darien or something like that.
That's where that clip was from then, and the Sailor Says.
This is not going to go well.
Yeah. I hate this. I hate the Rei Darien thing.
The whole added arc of Rei being like into boys and hating Serena is just like a weird arc, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that. I'm excited. I've got the dub. You've got the sub.
Yay.
We'll have so much therapy next week. I'm going to need it.
Yeah, you are.
Do we have what we would have the Sailor Moon Says be for this episode? Because I think I've got something.
Yeah, you go first.
And the answer is Sailor Moon Says, it's kind of what you said in the horoscope. It's don't fucking let guys mansplain tennis to you when you're a professional tennis player.
Right.
When people breach boundaries like jumping over fences and walking on tennis courts they're not supposed to walk onto and then start telling you how to do your job, it's okay to just ignore them or say, get the fuck out of here. So I know I didn't say that in a Sailor Moon Says, but I feel strongly that you don't have to be polite to assholes.
Exactly. I completely agree. And
be confident in yourself.
Yes. And I have nothing to add to the mansplaining bit because I think you covered it.
It was wild.
So what I'll say for Sailor Moon Says is Sailor says just because you have a crush doesn't mean that you're bad at your job. You are allowed to have crushes and it has no effect unless you're only focusing on your crush and not on your job. But we don't have any evidence of that for Sailor Moon, so everybody can just back off and let her have her crushes.
Yes. I like her crushes. She seems to have pretty good, well, no, she has crushes on the bad guys too pretty frequently. I was going to say she seems to have a good feel for it, but no, she just likes everybody. Good for her.
Yeah, but she's most consistent about good people, like Tuxedo Mask or Andrew.
That's true. They're long-lasting crushes.
Yeah.
I still want Andrew to turn out to be like Jadeite. We just never see him again.
I know. Oh, I did have a question before we sign off on Tuxedo Mask, where like, so all of the girls have to transform, but we never see him transform. Do you think that that's just a costume that he has in his closet?
And he like puts it on really fast and goes running across the city. I was actually just had the very vivid image of a Tuxedo Mask transformation sequence, and I want that. Like I've never wanted anything in my life. Do you think he has like nail polish on under the gloves? Does he have gloves?
He does have gloves.
He's totally got nail polish on under there.
Surely somebody has animated this. This has to exist.
Yeah. I'm looking it up. Transformation. This appears to be from the show, so I don't think this is going to work. Oh, God.
Yes, Tuxedo.
Oh, my God. He's got one in the show. He spins the hat. Holy shit. What episode is this from? It's, like, not as intense, but it is a transformation.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what episode it's from.
But I want it to be almost as sexualized as the girls' transformations as well.
I want it to be
arched back and
more
like naked.
Yeah, I this one isn't living up to snuff, although I am going to send it to you so that you can see it.
Yeah, I want his cape to like caress his body as
that would be cool. And I want his little nails to get painted. Yeah. I want like maybe a little gloss of like eyeliner behind the mask.
Do you think, what color are his nails under his gloves?
They are going to be red like a rose.
Yes, they are.
Or green like a rose.
Yeah. Like a rose's thorns. I do want to understand why he is...
It's from episode 34. So we're going to get there soon.
Yeah. In a couple months.
All right. We'll have to watch for it.
I want to understand why he's got this whole like tango tuxedo thing going on when the rest of them are designed like sailors.
Hello. It says initially in the manga and all the time in PGSM. What's that? Something Sailor Moon.
PG Sailor Moon.
Mamoru put on his tuxedo like a suit of clothing.
Ha!
So I think you're right. I think he climbs into it. Oh, that's so good.
It's like Superman.
In the anime, he transformed into Tuxedo Mask. His transformations were originally spontaneous, apparently triggered by those of Sailor Moon, and he was not even fully aware of being Tuxedo Mask.
What?
That is my favorite theory so far. That he's only Tuxedo Mask when she transforms, he just suddenly turns into Tuxedo Mask.
Wait, so then what happens to all those times when he hasn't shown up? Is he just stuck in the phone booth?
Yeah, he's like somewhere like at like across town, like at his job, and he's just suddenly like has to hide in a bathroom so he doesn't like get fired for suddenly turning into Tuxedo Mask.
Oh my God, somebody write this fanfic now from his point of view.
I love this. This is brought to us by Prankster206 on YouTube. Probably know what they're talking about. I trust them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't lie to me.
It's on the internet, so it's true. He doesn't
Later in
know.
the manga and anime. I love it. Later in the manga and anime, he gained incantationless transformations brought on in his own will. But I know he's turning randomly into it. He's got weird sets of memories. Like, although we have seen him investigating as Darien, so he knows some stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like, so that was the manga is what they were saying?
It says in the manga and anime.
Wow. Wait, so that would explain why, because remember my question of like, because he had seen them transform, I'm pretty sure, in the last episode. So that would explain why he doesn't know that Serena is Sailor Moon.
Yeah, because he just goes.
Wow.
I love it. This is my favorite theory. I'm into it. And let's see if we can carry this through as we continue watching.
This is now officially canon. All right.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing you guys next week for a little more therapy. Thanks for listening and take care of yourselves.
Yeah, Sailor says, take care of yourself.